Bienvenue à Hollywood, le seul pays au monde où on peut trouver dans la même journée un canal, un plus et une pomme. Cette semaine dans l'hebdo d'Hollywood séries, les séries Apple débarquent sur CANAL et MyCanal. Du coup, on a décidé de vous en faire une sélection totalement subjective et pas du tout exhaustive. Juste quelques-unes de nos préférées. On a envie de vous conseiller. Vous êtes prêts? C'est parti.
The Soviet cosmonaut has become the first to set foot on the moon.
Commençons par les 3 premières saisons de For All Mankind, la nouvelle série de Ron Moore, créateur de Galactica, une série qui part d'une uchronie. Et si les premiers à mettre le pied sur la Lune avaient été les Russes? Ron Moore nous a invités sur la Lune, enfin sur le décor de la série, pour nous expliquer comment il a réécrit l'histoire de ces 5 dernières décennies.
I started early on. I sat down and just started writing an alternate timeline, just sort of year by year, going through the major historical events and looking at them and asking myself, how would this potentially be changed by the space race? You know, if the competition between the Soviets and the Americans had accelerated and gone into space and everyone's focus was up there, how does that change things like Afghanistan? How does it change the Cold War? How does it change the Middle East? How does it change all the geopolitics? And then within that, even just cultural moments of history and personalities and presidents and all that. It was a lot of fun, to be honest. I really enjoyed that.
Get back to work.
I like that by losing the race to the moon, America won so much more, and we as a people and we as a world won so much more. You know, I think it is an irony of history that when we got to the moon, everything just stopped, and everyone was like, "Oh, I guess that was the goal, and now it's over." And if we had lost the moon, it just feels like we could have kept going, and that the benefits would have been there for everybody.
My name is Leanne Grayson, and I come from Wisconsin.
Servant, la série de M. Night Shyamalan est creepy, smart, décalée, tout ce qu'on aime. L'histoire part d'un malheur fondateur, la mort d'un bébé. La mère ne l'admet pas, le bébé est donc remplacé par une poupée qui va prendre vie quand une babysitter façon Mary Poppins infernale vient s'installer dans la maison.
I find this incredibly compelling, this idea of a woman who had a tragedy and doesn't remember it and is pretending like her child is still alive. I can do a series on that. That's endless for me. How do we deal with loss? How do we deal with tragedy? Do we avoid it? Do we pretend? Do we think of things? Do we see things that aren't there? It was something that I guess I just really touched me.
Do you want to hear a secret, Dorothy?
La série a duré 4 saisons, elles sont toutes disponibles sur MyCanal. Départ à Londres, un soir de première pour une série d'espionnage délicieusement anglaise, Slow Horses.
I didn't mean to kill him.
Of course you didn't. If you meant to kill him, he'd still be alive.
Une série inspirée d'une franchise littéraire centrée sur les enquêtes du bureau des nazes du MI6. Gary Oldman, Kristen Scott Thomas, un casting de stars pour une série à l'humour irrésistiblement british. Isn't it, dire Christine?
J'ai trouvé que l'histoire était tellement bien, c'était tellement inattendu, tous les tournants de l'histoire, l'humour qu'il y a là-dedans, le côté haletant, le côté complètement tendu, et puis d'avoir ces petits dards d'humour comme ça qui sont lancés. Moi, j'ai trouvé ça irrésistible.
Puisqu'on est dans la comédie, venons-en au roi du genre en ce moment, Ted Lasso. L'histoire de cet entraîneur de football américain jeté par vengeance à la tête d'une équipe anglaise de vrai foot. Une série aussi désarmante de gentillesse, d'humour que d'émotion. Jason Sudeikis et Brendan Hunt, Ted Lasso himself et son fidèle assistant ont du mal à expliquer le triomphe de la série, mais apprécient mes effets de lumière.
This is why it's hard to love you.
He loves you. I can only equate it to like when people, singers, songwriters, or write a song. I don't think anybody expects it to be something that people will play at their funeral or dance to at their wedding. That'll resonate with folks. You're just doing what you're following your gut and you're following your instinct.
People saying there's something wrong with us. Not the way I see it.
There's also something that, for me, explains the success of the show, is that it's a show without any cynicism. It's what I call the power of kindness.
100%, yeah. You know, there's no defense in the arts. I mean, you know, except maybe the, you know, museum curators and, you know, censors. But you know, your three opponents, though, a lot of times are apathy, ego, and cynicism. But yeah, a non-cynical view is never going to go out of style.
Hey, speaking of choices artistically, I love what you're doing lighting-wise. Lean back again in the back of your chair. That was fantastic.
Yeah. Some lights coming from the...
Yeah.
How do I avoid the sun?
It's like Predator. I don't know. It's cool.
Okay,
it's like,
like you're coming through the bushes at us.
I know.
Yeah. Are you friend or foe? Oh, I love
Godfather-ish. You know, it's like, it's nice. I agree.
To the family we're born with, and to families we make along the way. To Richmond!
The Mossad sent me to Tehran on a mission, but then everything went wrong.
N'oublions pas Téhéran, la série d'espionnage addictive avec agents du Mossad infiltrés, rebondissements tous les quarts d'heure et suspense intense. Et une star aussi, Glenn Close a rejoint la série en deuxième saison pour jouer une espionne déguisée en psychiatre parlant farsi. Une Glenn Close séduite par le côté international de la série.
The future is going to be like what Apple TV Plus is doing, taking these wonderful shows from different countries and giving them a global audience, and I really wanted to be part of that. I think it's important for Americans to start really learning about the rest of the world. I mean, we're also now even more so. Our fates are all, you know, together. We are a global family, and we're only will survive or not survive dependent on how we can work together.
Severance est une série concept comme on les aime. Dans un futur très proche, on pourra nous installer une puce dans le cerveau qui nous fera faire la part des choses. Au boulot, on oublie que la vraie vie existe. Et dans la vraie vie, on oublie que le boulot existe. Severance est le deuxième projet télé de Ben Stiller après la mini-série de prison Escape at Dannemora. On lui a demandé pourquoi il est allé faire un tour vers la science-fiction. Ben, why did you want to do this kind of prisoner meets the office, or I don't know how you want to call it?
I like that. Yeah, I mean, it got me excited reading it and seeing the possibilities for what it could be. And tonally, I think to do something, the last thing I did was this sort of like heavy, you know, prison escape show. And just stylistically, this felt, it's funny. Initially, my thought was, oh, this is very different. It's, you know, a different feeling and vibe, tone, all of it. But as I was shooting, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of like a prison show also. Because everybody's stuck down there. And I mean, there were the moments where like, oh, this is kind of similar. Because so, you know, thematically, I guess there's that thing of being sort of like locked in and trying to figure out, you know, how you exist outside of the walls and the parameters around you, you know?
Most people want to trust that the person that is telling them about the world is an honest person. Like you.
Yes.
Terminons par la série qui a lancé Apple TV+, The Morning Show. Les coulisses d'un télématin à l'américaine, les égos qui s'affrontent, les luttes de pouvoir, le tout plongé dans un scandale d'harcèlement sexuel. En 2 saisons, la série n'a pas juste connu le succès, elle est devenue synonyme de son temps. Sous ses airs de super soap à l'ancienne, c'est une série bien plus subtile qu'il n'y paraît. Et selon 2 de ses acteurs, Mark Duplass et Billy Crudup, c'est aussi la raison de son succès.
Well, look, let's be honest. Jennifer Aniston came back to television, and she was with Reese Witherspoon, and I think that was going to be explosive no matter what we did. But I also think that created an expectation that could have harmed the show and could have made people say, you know what, that wasn't as good as I thought it was. I waited 20 years for this. So I really have to give it up to the writers and the showrunners for offering something new and fresh. So I hope they came for the star power and the glitz, and I hope that they stayed for sort of the nuanced storytelling, because, you know, it's not an easy story to tell. It's not a story that is done and that you can wrap up and tell with clarity. It's a story that's happening right now, and they're pivoting as they go, trying to tell it. So it's risky.
Watching a beloved woman's breakdown is timeless American entertainment.
There's an expression in French that says, "La télé, ça rend fou." Is that what the show is about?
I think it's certainly part of what the show is about. I think the pressure cooker of live television is something that exacerbates all of the existing issues and makes them worse.
Anybody in the entertainment business has got to be a little off their rocker, that's for sure. And if you're planning on waking up at 4 a.m. or 3:30 every morning to do your job, you got to have a screw loose. That being said, they've got to try to keep it together for the people at home, because they're waking up hoping that those news anchors are going to provide a sense of stability for the course of the day. So it's quite a juggling act that they have.
The Morning Show, c'est tous les jeudis soirs sur CANAL+, et comme toutes les séries Apple TV+, c'est accessible sur MyCanal. Et il y en a plein d'autres. On aurait pu aussi vous parler d'extrapolation, de fondation, d'invasion, d'Echo 3, de shrinking et de tant d'autres. On n'a plus le temps, l'hebdo Hollywood, c'est fini.